Hello, and welcome to the Stem Cell Healing Institute podcast. In case you have any questions regarding this program, please write us at info@stemcellhealinginstitute.com. Thank you and enjoy the podcast. Hello, once again, we are here with Dr. Sara Figueredo. She is the Research and Technical Director of Stem Cell Healing Institute. We have an excellent topic, very trendy. Hello, Dr. Figueredo. How are you?
Hello, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure being here with you.
Today, we're going to talk about a very current and very valid issue, which is the destruction and damage done to the lungs when you have COVID-19.
It's a very current very current, and I mean it's something that's happening now. So I think it's a great thing that you brought that up, and it's a great topic to talk about because so much damage and destruction is being done to not only the lungs but all of the organs, and we don't even realize it. You know, people that have COVID, they don't even realize the damage that's happening just because of lack of knowledge, and a lot of times they feel okay, so they think that they're okay when there's this silent damage going on. Okay, well, let me tell you what's happening first with COVID and the organs, including the lungs. What happens, and then I'll also talk about smokers and vaping and all of that related to COVID. Basically, what happens with COVID is there's an inflammation in the lungs, and that inflammation doesn't allow for oxygen to penetrate the lungs and get into the rest of the body. And if you're a smoker or a vapor, that inflammation is even worse. And if you've been smoking or vaping for a long time, there's already damage and destruction to the lungs on top of the inflammation due to COVID. So when we don't get enough oxygen into the body, we become hypoxic, and a lot of times we don't even realize it when you have COVID that the oxygen levels are down into the 80s. Anything below basically 92 or so, and into the 80s for sure is a hypoxic condition, which means that there's just not enough oxygen for the cells of the body and the cells of the organs. So there's this silent hypoxia going on where you think you're okay, but your oxygen is actually in the 80s, and you're doing damage to your organs, to your lungs, all of the organs, kidneys, liver, heart, brain, and so these are the long-term effects of COVID, and we don't even realize it sometimes unless you're monitoring your blood oxygen levels, and so this inflammation and a long-term COVID can cause this scarring in the lungs from the inflammation, and then that causes long-term damage to the lungs, and that's what we're here talking about, is how to undo that scarring and damage to the lungs and to the rest of the organs with stem cells. And so what stem cells can do is they can regenerate the damage and the scarring and the cells that have died in the organs from lack of oxygen. What the stem cells can do is they can regenerate and reconstruct what has been damaged, so that the organs and the lungs are at full capacity again in order to function fully and without any detriment to the rest of the body. So it's a very amazing ability of the body to be able to regenerate itself with stem cells.
Well, we did touch the fact if somebody smokes, of course, but this also works for people with chronic lung disease and cystic fibrosis and emphysema.
Yes, absolutely. Oh, yes. And, with emphysema, absolutely. Cystic fibrosis, emphysema, pulmonary fibrosis, And emphysema is, I mean, the number one cause of emphysema is smoking.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
So yes, yes, we can go into the lungs with stem cells and basically reverse the damage that's been done by smoking, by COVID, by pulmonary fibrosis. Yes, very good point. Right.
So that's why you gotta have your lungs like in very good shape um, to be able to beat COVID, right?
Yes, yes, yeah. So they feel like they can't catch their breath. Exactly. They're coughing more than they're allowed to take in the air. So they're coughing out more than they're allowed to take in the air, and that's due to the inflammation and then ongoing the ongoing damage that can occur. And so yes, that shortness of breath and that feeling of asphyxiation, where you're almost like almost choking in a way, and not being able to catch your breath. And so it's a very scary feeling for a lot of patients. And so that's where the oxygen comes in, where we have right now, I know we have a very short supply of oxygen concentrators and oxygen tanks that allow that allow for patients to not be hypoxic and have their oxygen levels in the 90s, for instance, 90% in the the percentage, a higher percentage rather than the 80s, which is so damaging. So yes, it's so important to not only keep your lungs healthy, and of course, we all know that smoking is bad for your health and vaping is bad for your health, but it definitely is. That idea is reinforced with COVID, because smokers and vapors don't do well with COVID
And
at all.
it's very scary to see the young kids doing vaping and they don't even know how
Mhm.
much damage they're doing to their lungs.
Right.
It's really sad to see kids. I see like underage kids doing vaping. It's terrible. I mean, parents should be aware that that causes a long-term lung disease.
Yes, yes, exactly. Exactly. And I think that's the dilemma. That's the dilemma, I think, of it's such a big business. And so of course there's the pushback with that, and then there are parent groups that are trying to dissuade the e-vaping. And so
What,
let's see where it goes, because I would love to see it banned.
what exactly do we do at the Stem Cell Healing Institute for these treatments?
Yes, very good question. So depending on the type of damage that's been done and the degree of damage, we will use either endometrial stem cells or adipose or fat derived stem cells or bone marrow derived stem cells. And what we'll do is primarily put them intravenously in order for them to get directly to the lungs and the organs, everywhere that the blood flows. And and so it'll be an intravenous injection of the stem cells, and along with a detoxification nutritional program, a nutritional detox IV, and in some cases, growth hormone therapy, key mineral and stem cell enhancement therapy, as well as oxygen therapy. So all of this is combined in a very comprehensive treatment package, in order to have the best possible results um, to stimulate the body to heal itself, basically.
Are lungs an organ that can regenerate?
Yeah, yes, with stem cells, absolutely. Really, any organ can regenerate with the help of stem cells.
Okay.
We have to stimulate it with stem cells. The liver is one of the primary organs that can kind of self-regenerate on its own, given the right conditions. However, the rest of the organs, and that's to some degree, and that's another topic altogether with the liver, but the rest of the organs can regenerate with the help of stem cells. Absolutely.
And what are the signs that I have like some lung disease or some lung deficiency? When do I know that my lungs are not working properly?
Um, well, you know what? Sometimes we don't even realize it We don't even realize it until some illness hits. Usually, it takes a smoker to have stopped smoking 8 years to undo the damage
Wow.
that's been done. hmm And and that's like a typical rule of thumb. And so a lot of times we don't even realize the damage that's been done until we get some kind of ailment or sickness, and then it's sort of highlighted, or accentuated the damage that's been done to a certain organ.
So I should be worried because I smoked cigarettes for 27 years and then I smoked the e-cigarette for 6 years.
Oh,
And
okay. And when did you quit?
when the pandemic started, I was vaping and I dropped my vapor. I dropped my e-cigarette and it broke, and everything was closed. Even the e-cigarette stores were closed. Everything was closed for like 3 months. So I
Right.
decided to quit. So I quit cigarettes like 6 years ago, and then
Right.
I quit vaping a year and a half ago.
Okay. Well, you know
So
what? That's a great start.
yeah,
That's a great start. So it's never too late. It's never too
it's
late to
never too
stop.
late.
So
Your body totally changes when you stop smoking.
yes. One of the biggest things that happens in smoking is that instead of breathing in oxygen when you're smoking, you're breathing in carbon monoxide, which is a poison, and it's replacing the oxygen that should be in your cells. And so yes, so immediately once you stop smoking, that oxygen again is the blood and the cells are saturated with oxygen once again rather than carbon monoxide. So you feel the difference right away, in your breathing, in the shortness of breath or climbing stairs. You feel the difference right away. So that's a really good point that you just made.
So to know if my lungs are okay or not, I should get an X-ray. Is that right, doctor?
X-rays are a good start. Absolutely. They're a good place to start. You could see scarring, you can see damaged air pockets, things like that. If you have emphysema or the start of emphysema, you see more air pockets and in the lungs. And so yes, it's yeah, the X-rays are a good place to start for sure.
Where do they contact you, doctor?
Great question. So they can visit us on Facebook and Instagram at Stem Cell HI or info at stemcellhealinginstitute.com. That's our email, info at stemcellhealinginstitute.com. And they can reach us on the web, also straight to directly on our website at www.stemxcure.com or www.stemcellhealinginstitute.com.
Well, thank you. It was great having you again on this podcast.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate it, and it's wonderful being here. Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, bye bye.